Hello there, YouTube. There's another part of what's inside. This is going to be what's inside an automotive air conditioning compressor. If you ever wonder what's inside those things, well, this is pretty much a dismantled view of what is inside these things. Start with this is our compressor case. And then we'll just start from here, and this is the orientation of how things are kind of assembled from left to right here. This is our main shaft, and on here would be a coil, and around that would be a pulley which your belt attaches to, and then there's a clutch on the outside which turns this little shaft right here on the inside. That shaft in turn spins this guy. This is our piston gear set. There's a little race that goes in between the two, and if you look at this here, you can see that little nice shiny flat surface there all that way around. Well, this little race rides on there, and then this little guy here, basically, let me grab all these pistons, goes on there like that. Now it's shaped oddly at an angle, and what it basically does is it rotates this whole thing in and out, so allowing each piston to go in and out. And these little pistons here go in and out in the chambers, and they compress your refrigerant. Now on here, sorry, I'm looking through the camera here, so that makes it a little interesting to do. Let me get these out of the way. This little guy is just a ball bearing. Sits right in there. There's a little conical gear set there. That corresponds with this guy here, and this is a, I want to say kind of like a keeper or something. So as it goes around, it kind of keeps everything straight, but that little bearing is important there. That's what keeps pressure against it. Now on the back side of this, there's a spring. So as this is turning, it doesn't get loose. This thing's constantly pushing up against it. We go from that spring, and we go into here. This is where all the pistons go down into. They go up and down inside each one of these chambers, and you can see there's about 7 of them. This little guy drops in right there, and then that spring goes underneath. What this does is this just keeps pressure up against that thing, so it's not flopping around in there, and it's able to correspond with that yoke there to rotate correctly. On the back side of this, normally there would be a plug there. That's what holds the spring, and that's this thing here. And I found that a 3/8 bolt takes these out real well to head on a 3/8 bolt if you don't have an Allen. You've got this little plate here that goes in there. And these little guys are kind of like a set of vanes. Little valves, just like on your car. One opens up to let input in, and there's another set, this one here, that allows it to press it out and compress it, and it's kind of like a set of check valves. Allows it to go only one direction, and this little plate here just helps stiffen that up. And then of course there would be a nut and a bolt that holds this on, and from there we've got this gasket here that would go there. Then basically you've got your back cap, and this is pretty much what your lines would attach to unless they attach to the top. That covers that, and you've got your in and your out. And then on here, we've got a little check valve. This is a very important little guy. This little valve here keeps it, so if your system winds up being overcharged, it doesn't blow your system up. It safely releases excess pressure and buildup in this system. Yes, it does vent it to the atmosphere, which is not necessarily good, but if you've ever wondered why you're hearing a big hissing sound, or you start seeing some green colored fluorescent stuff all over the back of your engine, well, the chances are you had too much in there and it blew it out. And this is why if your system's not necessarily working correctly, first thing you do is you don't start charging it. Assess it first. Make sure that it is low on refrigerant, or R134A. If you have an older car, R12, but probably have to convert it to R134A now. And then of course you got a couple of bolts that hold this to here. Pretty quick explanatory measure here. I mean, I can't see, it's not a lot of components to this. These little pistons have double seats on them, and they're kind of like a graphite, like a graphite ring, I guess. And commonly, when compressors fail, usually it's the clutch goes bad or the coil goes bad. But if these things fail and you can't turn the clutch is that main drive that locks into the pulley when you turn it on and rotates it. If you can't turn the clutch and your compressor has catastrophically failed, these little guys are super tiny, and the rods are pretty much just rods with ball bearings on the end that rotate. I've seen it where these shatter and these pistons pretty much just jam the whole works up and your compressor's done. They do make rebuild kits for some of these. They also do make clutch rebuild kits. This compressor costs about $300. Unfortunately, from the manufacturer, there's no rebuild kit available for it. Had there been one, it would have been roughly about $150. So at that point, you decide to yourself whether you want to rebuild the clutch or replace the entire compressor and avoid the wear. I did notice when I took this one apart that there is ever so slightly, this thing will focus, a little bit of wear on those bearings. So it probably was a good idea to just replace it. Any which way, that's what's inside an automotive air conditioning compressor. Please comment, like, and subscribe, and thanks for watching.